Welcome. I'm the Mad Monk, and I'm here to help introduce you to some ideas about how you can bring yoga into your life. Yoga isn't just something you do 2 o'clock on Thursdays as part of Tiffany's class, right? Yoga is how we introduce ideas and awareness into our day-to-day life. And so I'm 48 years old and I'm in pretty good shape. I haven't been sick for some time. I don't really have anything wrong with me. And if I step on something that, maybe somebody else might twist an ankle on, I can tuck and roll. It's something that we shouldn't be losing just because we get a little older. We should be still pretty flexible. We should still be strong and without pain. Um, and if we treat our bodies right, right, we're much more like animals that are like a wild animal. It never has to go to the veterinarian, and usually it's doing pretty good. These guys are so strong, and they've never even been to a gym, never ever even worked out at a gym, and they're really pretty strong and fast. Huh. Yes, you are. And so this is Kali, and she is one of the educators here at Hawkshaven. So anyway, basically, I'm going to introduce some ideas of how to introduce fitness and fun into your life, because I, when I was in the military, it was common for people. Oh yeah, you got to go to the gym and you got to work out and you got to do this and and I don't know. I always just felt like it was a waste of time, because it wasn't that fun. Having to carry around your stupid little squirt bottle and wash down equipment before you get on it because some jackass, left sweat and stank all over it. And so now you get to clean it before you can use it. And then you got to, then the nice person cleans it after they've used it too. Um, and I just didn't like the linear movements. I didn't like the machines. I didn't like that kind of a workout. And so I explored yoga. And I've done this always since I was even a kid. I would be watching a movie from like a headstand or a shoulder stand, or I'd be doing just crazy things with my legs and feet and my body, and just holding it in strange ways. Just getting away from just relaxing and resting and stacking my bones to where I wasn't finding a benefit from it. I always do things differently. So I'm going to show you some of the ways and some of the little things that you can gather that are inexpensive to be able to do that in your life. So anyway, we'll talk more while we do this. One of the best things you can invest into is one of these yoga balls, and this one, it's, I don't know, probably about 28 or 30 inches in diameter, maybe, yeah, somewhere in there. And these really help you to start getting a core fitness. And with a core fitness, you just maybe you haven't explored your physical health yet, and so maybe you're just going to explore bringing your weight off of center, off of just being balanced on your bones. So maybe we just explore the ball a little bit and bring, like off your heels. Just bring the weight off your heels onto the balls of your feet. And then once you've done this for a while, then you can increase your leveraging, or you can come all the way down on it. And now when you do this, watch out, Hosharu. Watch out, you gotta go somewhere else. You gotta go somewhere else. Go somewhere else. Yeah, go somewhere else. All right. So you're trying to minimize your points of contact. And so if I, like right now, I can't see it, but I just have my toes on the ground and my legs are pushed out as far as I can straight behind me. So let me see if we just need to go into like this a little bit more. So we can do like a basic Superman type expression, and you just explore it. Just play around. And when we're using our body weight as resistance in all sorts of creative ways, it's not a linear motion, it's more natural. It's movement in all directions. So instead of just doing a push on a bar this way, I'm pushing, but all the way across the spectrum of my chest. And then, because there's nothing holding me left or right, it's also making it to where I'm having to hold a lateral stability too. And so when I'm capable of holding myself in all directions, that creates a balanced muscle. And if we have balanced muscles that are capable of being flexible, then that works to support our skeleton in ways that it really benefits us. And so strength is one thing, but flexibility is really important. Flexibility happens by exploration. Exploring, like right there, I just got a pop in my back from laying. Thank you. Watch out. From laying on this ball. And if I explore a little bit farther, and now if I incorporate something that we learn in yoga, pranayama, it's the management of your breath. So sometimes people aren't even aware of how they're breathing. They just know that they're alive, right? And so if we're aware of how we're breathing, then we can control all sorts of things, because then we're aware of right now. And so we practice breathing intentionally while you're in difficult asanas or postures or ways of being. And so when life delivers you something that's difficult, you can center yourself by focusing on your breath, breathing in through your nose, filling up your lower abdomen or lower diaphragm, filling into the chest, and then exhaling effortlessly through your mouth. And like right now, I mean, this is a pretty good core fitness experience, because I'm trying to keep my back from being fully supported by the ball. But because I'm maintaining my breath and I'm maintaining my awareness, I can still talk to you almost as if I was standing up, resting. And when we build, let me back up for a moment. I when I was 14 years old, I was struck by a Ford Bronco on the highway, and it broke a bunch of bones and degloved my forehead, cracked my skull. Anyway, basically, I was going to the chiropractor every couple weeks for alignment and just to kind of help relieve pain. And so, but I wasn't going to a chiropractor that was teaching me what I needed to do to be a better me. He was just, making money off of me showing up every couple weeks. And so I eventually ended up with a chiropractor because, I knew all of the stretches, and I knew the postures, and I knew all the machines that they would put you on to be able to
lengthen your spine and get it flexible so that way they could do an adjustment. And like right now, okay, like I'm pushing away as far as I can. I'm spreading my hands as far as I can, and I'm opening my palms as much as I can. And if I really wanted to get into this, as I breathe in, I hold my hands up. As I exhale, I turn my hands down. So anyway, back to the chiropractor. So I finally ended up with a chiropractor. It says, he says if you work on your flexibility, your strength training, and your hydration, you probably wouldn't have to come back here. And then being that I was private paying, I was like, wow, that sounds cheaper than paying money every visit. And so I started focusing, like right now, okay, I'm stretching my hands as far down as I can. I'm pushing away with my neck. I'm supporting the upper part of my body. I'm also engaging all the way through my chest. We're engaging large muscle groups, okay? And so I'm pushing all the way through where I can feel it, like all the way, as I'm pulling together, I can feel it across my chest. But now if I interlace my fingers and then I pull apart, or I'm pulling apart, but I'm holding my hands together, I'm engaging all the way across my back. And everywhere that I hold differently, I'm working on different muscle groups. So that's something to be considerate of when we're working out, is all of our muscle groups, including all of them, not just the ones we like. I mean, because when I was younger, I thought, well, if I do a lot of bicep curls, that's going to give me big biceps, and that's going to look like I'm strong. but it might look like you're strong, but if it's not a balanced network of muscles, maybe you're more susceptible to injury. Maybe, like right now, okay, I'm resting a little bit because I was heavily engaged, but now I'm resting. And I'm just kind of exploring balance on this. So I'm in a resting state, but I'm also in a stretching state. And I'm still trying to breathe consciously. And I'm trying to chew bubble gum, make a video, and do yoga at the same time, right? And so I was teaching at a studio for some time. And when you're teaching at a studio, it seems that there are expectations that are placed on you that aren't necessarily realistic. It seems that a lot of people, they want a cookie cutter class, something that they're familiar with, something that they can rely on happening every Tuesday at 4:00. If we explore what yoga teaches us in unique ways in our life, we get better growth and return of our investment of our time. And so, and this way is fun. I mean, my type of yoga that I teach is called play. And it's about exploring opportunities all the time that exist. And when we do it in different ways, we're experiencing different things. So like right now, I'm stretching my shoulders by just letting my arms hang down. I'm letting them, every time I breathe in, I'm just letting them fall. I'm letting them stretch in and explore their new limits. So I'm kind of a unique teacher of yoga because I've been told that I talk too much. But when you come to a yoga teacher to learn about yoga, it's in my impression that you shouldn't just be here monkey see, monkey do, because that's what they said to do, right? We might mimic the movements that they do to explore something that maybe we haven't explored yet, but we should do it on our own tempo. So like right here, like somebody else maybe have just worked right through that, but I'm wanting to explore that right there. I feel like a tight muscle, and so I'm going to be, again, focus on my breath, breathing in deeply, filling my chest, exhaling completely, effortlessly, letting go of what I no longer need. And when I'm doing that, I'm working my way into exploring that muscle where there's a limitation. And where there's a limitation, there's a blockage. It keeps me from moving in that direction very well, right? Because there's pain associated to it. So if I explore it though, and I hit it from all perspectives, it kind of realigns all of those fibers and helps me to explore that area a little bit deeper, right? Oh, but I'm almost tired of being on my hip upside down. So we'll come back onto the front side. Let's go punch you. And we'll just sit and talk for a minute. So I was talking with a friend earlier today, and people have expectations, right? And my dad told me some time ago, expectations are like premeditated resentment. So like I've had people actually say kind of highly critical things of classes that I've taught where they were expecting a certain expression. They were expecting a certain way of information being delivered. And when they didn't get it, they lash out at things that they can't control. Whereas yoga is intended to teach us what we can control and what we can't. Like I can only control me, and I can only do it right now. And if somebody else comes into my space, like these dogs, I'm not trying to control them. I might ask them to move. I might, demand some space that I've prepared, because that's maintaining a healthy boundary. But I mean, I can work with it. It's, they're not really bothering me. And that's how we can work with people in our life too. So anyway, some of the other things of exploring, we're using our body weight as resistance, and we're just exploring how that works. I mean, so every time that you get up off of the floor, is it happening like an 80-year-old man where, gotta get over into this position here and crawl up and just like an old person? Or are we looking to be creative every time that we do something in life? So for a while I was like, gosh, all right, so I think I don't know how to get up just using my legs or just using one leg or whatever. So I was like, well, what if I can get up using my hands? And so then I realized, I'm like, okay, if I put my hands on the ground, all right, I can pick up my body, and then I can swing it where I can stand up. And when I started doing that every time, I started getting stronger doing it. Because the first couple of times I tried, I
Well, I tried. It's like when you go fishing but you don't catch any fish. It's I tried. I wasn't yet strong enough to be able to lift my body off the ground, maintain my legs up in a way that I could roll them out from underneath me. But when you practice, you build neural pathways and you build resistance into certain muscles, and you are creating something that didn't exist before. I didn't have the ability of doing that before, but now I do have that ability because I worked towards it, right? It doesn't make me any better than anyone else. It just means that maybe I've done that more often, and so I'm more familiar with it. My body is more familiar with it. And sometimes there's momentum in a direction that it might take somebody a year to be able to do, because maybe activating these large muscle groups is going to remove the burden on their muscles. Because when we activate these large muscle groups, even when we're sitting, like right now, if I just sit here and I'm straight up and down, I'm balanced, but none of my muscles are happening to be engaged. But now if I just lean back a little bit, now there's a lot of muscles happening to be engaged just by leaning backwards. So I mean, if I'm leaning backwards, and then if I can even bring out, well, I'm kind of losing you in the screen, but you get the idea. When we increase the leveraging and we or minimize our points of contact, we can use our body weight as a resistance anywhere that we're at. So like right here, we're just here in my little corner of my man cave, right? And in this space, a lot of things can happen, I mean, like right over, let's see here, there's my my tattoo slash massage table. Because how many times have you had a massage and you're like, oh man, I'd just like to fall asleep here, with my face pushed into these cushions? Well, now I can do it because I found a massage table, right? And then I do tattoos, and so I have space that I can pull out my equipment and a place for people to be comfortable to do a tattoo. Over here, right over there, I mean, that's a hammock, so you hang up the hammock, and then that's also a place that you can work out. If you do push-ups on a hammock, that really stabilizes all of your shoulder muscles, and you can do inversions. So you have your feet up on the hammock, and then you're moving around with your chest, just kind of exploring your chest, your arms, and instead of letting it all of your weight just rest on your palms, try to push that weight all the way to your fingertips. Because when you push that weight all the way to the fingertips, you come, let's see here. I don't know, where can you see it? So like, if you do push-ups like this, you're column loading right down through your arm. And just by the direction that you're pushing your muscles, like, so if I roll my elbows in, it's going to be isolating my chest in the push-up. But if I roll my elbows out, it's going to be more of my back and my shoulders, right? And then you could just, if you practice that, you can bring it to where you're just on your fingers, right? And then when you do it when you're just on your fingers, then you get to where you can explore just doing it on thumbs. And And all of this happens over time, because the first time I tried to do planking on just the sides of my thumbs, I couldn't do it. The muscle from here runs all the way up your arm. And so if you haven't explored something yet, you just won't have the ability of doing that yet. So meditation is something like that too. It's not nearly as physically exerting as planking and holding yourself in all these contorted positions and these postures or these asanas, all sorts of fancy words for imitating nature. Nature is a fantastic teacher of yoga. And the original yogis, the Adi Yogi, the first yogi, learned from nature. There's a lot of postures that are named after animals or things in nature that can be observed and learned from. Because nature isn't advertised a way of being away from a divine design. So if we learn from our environment everything that it has to teach us, there's a better chance that we can be aligned with a divine design. And in nature, there are no therapists. There are no counselors. There's animals and plants that are living in peace until you're hangry. Once the cat becomes hangry, that bird that he was just letting, play on his tail now becomes lunch. But in nature, everything thrives. It's peaceful. It's abundant. It's healthy. I've watched nature often, and nature plays. Bears and otters and beavers, even fish and frogs, they play. Sometimes they're ornery. Sometimes sometimes nature is brutal, but so is life. And when we've aligned with the man's plan, and I'm not blaming man, I'm blaming man and woman for allowing our lives to be shaped by advertising and idols rather than what makes sense. Because paying to exist on every level doesn't really make sense. Humans are the only species on the planet that pay perpetually to exist and live in fear if they can't meet those demands. It's easy for an animal to create shelter. An animal often finds all of the food they need. Or they fast. And with their fasting, increases their desire and their effort and their action towards finding food. And then they find food. Or we live in such a dehydrated and tortured landscape that the food isn't as abundant. And so then we hand these bodies back to nature. Nature reconsumes what we created from it. This body, we're just mud monkeys. This is a product of the planet that a couple of pounds at a time, a couple of pounds every day, I was consuming and turning it into a bigger body, right? And this is all because of a divinely designed DNA. It just somehow carrots and celery and peanut butter and hamburgers and potato chips and all these things that I consumed created a me, right? So then I started realizing, I'm like, well, if I am what I eat, then I should start eating healthy things that I think are healthy for me. And so I started doing that. I started feeling better. And I don't have any back pain or anything anymore. And anyway, just this is intended to help people realize that it's how we do our day-to-day life that gives us the result of what we're experiencing. So I think that is all for today. Yeah. Enjoy your night.